History Spotlight, brought to you by HEC Media and the Missouri Historical Society.
Hello, I'm Dr. Jody Sowell, president of the Missouri Historical Society in St. Louis, and this is History Spotlight. A boat by many names, including the River Queen, served many roles, transforming from a freight hauler to a cherished tourist attraction, and even gracing the silver screen in renowned films. Public historian Adam Kloppe tells the story and reveals how it found its demise in St. Louis.
When the steamboat River Queen arrived in St. Louis in June of 1964, her owners, John Groffel and Arthur Credo, had big dreams. Ever since they had first purchased the stern-wheel steamer at auction in 1961, they had hoped that the boat would bring them big dollars as a nostalgic tourist attraction. But in just 3 short years, those dreams would end up at the bottom of the river. But before we get to the sinking, a little history. The Howard Shipyards and Dock Company of Jeffersonville, Indiana, built the River Queen in 1923. But when she was constructed, she had a different name, the Cape Girardeau, and she operated mostly carrying passengers and freight on the Ohio and Mississippi rivers. Then, in 1935, she was sold and got a different name, the Gordon C. Green. As the Gordon C. Green, she operated as a tourist boat, mainly on the Ohio River, though she also operated some on the Mississippi, particularly during annual trips to Mardi Gras in New Orleans. She became a movie star as well, appearing in 3 films, most notably 1939's Gone with the Wind. But just because the Gordon C. Green was a movie star didn't mean her career was going well. By 1951, she was out of service, and in 1952 she was sold again. Over the next decade or so, she'd undergo several name changes as different owners attempted to make the ship into a popular tourist attraction, restaurant, or nightclub in places like Owensboro, Kentucky, and Bradenton, Florida. Finally, in 1961, now going by the name River Queen, the steamer was sold to John Groffel and Arthur Credo, who had plans to fix her up and turn her into a nostalgia-themed restaurant, museum, and gift shop. At first, they moored the River Queen in Hannibal, hoping to draw tourist crowds. They found early success, but they also knew an even bigger tourist market was just 100 miles downriver. So, in June of 1964, they had the River Queen towed to St. Louis. They moored her near the Eads Bridge, and advertisements called out to tourists by promising that the River Queen would give them a nostalgic taste of 19th century steamboat life. Tourists could get lunch or dinner in her 185-seat dining room, and her kitchen offered everything from shrimp to catfish to steak. For the next few years, everything seemed to be going well. The River Queen was bringing in money, and the restaurant was well regarded. But disaster struck in the early morning hours of December 2nd, 1967. That morning, the restaurant manager noticed the boat listing in the water. Luckily, no one else was on board. Groffel and Credo arrived shortly thereafter and could only watch as the waters rose over the second deck. The River Queen was sunk. To this day, no one knows why. The ship was scrapped, but parts of her steel hull can still be seen on the riverfront when the water is low. Instead of nostalgia for the past, her rusted hull offers us a reminder of how dangerous and powerful the river remains.
Next week on History Spotlight, the border dispute known as the Honey War.
To learn more about the Missouri Historical Society, visit mohistory.org.